Act 4. And a Twelfth Night, or What You Will, is, remember, that's a subtitle. Like many Shakespeare's plays, is divided into a number. Generally, this is true of classic Greek and Roman drama. You know what that is? 5 acts with 5 scenes in them. That's a general division that was seen in Greek dramas. That pattern is set aside, as it often is in Shakespeare, foiled, you might say, here in Act 4. It has 3 scenes. And you should also know that Shakespeare wasn't a stickler for classicism, or the classic setup of drama as it was put in some books. We'll get to that. He was one of the first playwrights to overthrow the idea of the classic unities. You all know what the classic unities of drama are. Well, if you don't, I'm going to tell you. They are these. They're a result of Aristotle's Poetics, which I mentioned before. That's a brief book in which Aristotle says, for a narrative, you need 3 qualities. What is that? Remember that? I said about stories a long time ago. A beginning, a middle, and an end. Not too complicated. He said all narratives, including classical tragedy and comedy, drama, must have those attributes. So, and his Poetics also merely say that a tragedy should have unity of action, a unity of action. And it wasn't until 1570, 6 years around Shakespeare's birth, in a book by Lodovico Castellano. You don't have to know that, okay? But anyway, he proposed that the Greek unity should be set in stone. And here are those unities. 1, time. Any drama, any tragedy should cover only one space of time, preferably no more than 12 to 24 hours. You shouldn't exceed that in drama, okay? 2, place. So we have time, place. Place, no change of place should occur. Like if the play takes place in, say, the Roman Forum or a castle in Spain, it should not move from those places. But Shakespeare and other European playwrights broke that model. Who are some of the other European playwrights? Well, Ben Jonson is one of the best known, who was more of a classicist than Shakespeare, I guess you could say. And he's the one who wrote a poem telling what a great writer Shakespeare was. So to other playwrights of the time, Shakespeare existed. So some of Shakespeare's plays moved not only from city to city, but country to country. As in Henry V, it begins at the English court, then there are places in England, and I believe Wales, if I'm remembering right, and then it moves to France. And then it takes place in several places in France. That's Henry V. So Shakespeare broke that mold entirely of place, and then for unity of the 3 unities, the third is action. Time, place, and action. Those are the 3 unities of Greek drama. And that's essentially, the action is essentially the plot. And its unity should be connected in a logical and straightforward way that leads to the conclusion or the climax of the play, when all the action, as it were, explodes, and then afterward there comes a denouement, it's called, where everything's tied together and finished off at the end. So those are the 3 unities of classic drama. and that last unity should, in its coherence, should give a unity of understanding. Make it, it should be easy for you to comprehend because everything fits together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, end like that. So in Act 4 of Twelfth Night, you notice 3 scenes. The first scene begins with Feste and an appearance of Sebastian, the twin to Viola. Sebastian's confused, so is Feste, because he thinks it's Viola or Cesario. And then that's broken into, however, by Olivia, who appears out of the blue. And that could be marked another scene if you wanted to. It could be numbered another scene because suddenly she appears in the midst of it. Then in the second scene, Mariah and Feste start out. The Sertobi enters. Feste eventually takes on the role of Sertopus and talks to Malvolio, who generally is his prison, or where he's held in darkness, is the inner stage of the globe. There's that outer thrust stage, and then there's the inner stage, and that's generally where Malvolio will be kept during his imprisonment. So this is an entirely separate scene of a different sort where Feste's taking on different characters, and eventually he and Malvolio are left alone. And that could be seen as another separate scene. When the others exit and they're left alone. So you could say you got the 3, but you could break 2 of them into 2, so you end up with 5 if you wanted to, which should lead you to understand that there are editors who came after the first folio, and some decided, well, this will be a scene, and some decided that, well, this won't, and they altered the text in many ways that they wanted, so we have the ones that we have now. The actors who put together the first folio were mostly concerned about the words, the speeches of the people, and the actions to get those down right. So the text might say, let me alone. Just let the people come and go. Don't try to mark it into 5, specific classic scenes. But that's what we're dealing with today. So let's look at that. Did you all know about the 3 unities? Have you heard of those? I thought it'd be good to know those because you should know then that Shakespeare breaks the mold in all of them. And remember this Lodovico, the Italian writer, who in his book said, this is what they are, set them in stone, as it were, was right around Shakespeare's birth. So it was a book that affected all writers from then on. And you'll see even the French playwrights were affected by this idea. All right, so let's go over those 3 scenes as they're numbered. So here we have Sebastian, who of course is Viola's twin. Don't forget that. And then the fool. Seth, you want to be Sebastian? Do you think you can with that mask on? Okay. Speak up, kind fellow. Okay. Well, you make me believe that I'm not sent for you, and so immediately we're thrown into the action. This is a wonderful thing that Shakespeare often does with an opening of a scene. Feste's saying, "Will you make me believe that I'm not sent for you?" So they obviously been talking about this before. Go ahead. Well, held out, Faith. No, I do not know you, nor I am not sent to you by my lady to bid you come speak with her, nor my name is not Master Cesario, your name is not Master Cesario, nor this is not my nose, neither. Nothing that is so is so. Why is he confused? Right. The person who looks like Cesario is saying he's not Cesario. He's saying he's Sebastian. I don't know whether he says it. Uh, so go ahead. Folly. Vent my folly. He's heard that word of some great man and now applies it to a fool. Again, great man, fool. Uh, Vent my folly? I'm afraid this great lubber of the world will prove a cockney, I prithee thee. Uh, Ungird thy strangeness and tell me what I shall vent to my lady. Shall I vent to her that thou art coming? By my troth, thou hast an open hand. Uh, those wise men that give fools money, wise and fool again, get themselves a good report and 14 years' purchase. What are we having happen here? We have Sir Toby and Andrew and Fabian entering. Uh, so you might even say that could be a separate scene, but it's tied to Sebastian. And Andrew says to Sebastian, "Oh, sir, have I met you again? There is for you." He strikes him. If you generally to initiate a duel, you take your glove and slap the person in the face, or you could take your glove and throw it down on the ground in front of him, and that meant you are challenged to a duel. That's the only time you use the word challenge, by the way. It was a challenge. It was a difficulty. It was a whatever. Okay. So he strikes him. Sebastian. He hits him back, and he says, "What?" "Hold, sir, I'll throw your dagger o'er the house. This will I tell my lady straight. I would not be in some of your coats for tuppence." He exits. "Come, sir, hold." "Nay, let him alone. I'll go another way to work with him. I'll have an action of battery against him, if there be any law in Illyria. Though I struck him first, yet it's no matter for that." "Come, sir, I'll not let you go. Come, my young soldier, put up your iron," as he's got his sword out. "You are well fleshed. Come on." So he finally pulls free. He's probably got his dagger out before. Now he pulls out his sword. "What? What? Nay, then, I must have an ounce of or two of this Malpert blood from you." So here we get Olivia suddenly enters. Olivia suddenly enters. You want to take her role, Nicole? Oh, thank you. We're glad to have Nicole back because she was quarantined too with no symptoms, Nicole, right? Yeah. Okay.
Hold, Toby. On thy life I charge thee, hold.
Madam?
Will it be ever thus, ungracious wretch, fit for the mountains and the barbarous caves, where manners
Ne'er.
near, or preach,
That means never.
or preach, out of my sight. Be not offended, dear Cesario. Rude spy, be gone.
Rudesby.
Rudesby, be gone. I prithee thee, gentle friend, let thy fair wisdom not thy passion sway. In this uncivil and unjust extent, against thy peace, go with me to my house, and hear thou there how many fruitless pranks this ruffian hath botched up, and thou thereby mayest smile at this. Thou shalt not choose but go. Do not deny. Beshrew his soul for me. He started one poor heart of mine in thee.
Okay, now this is a side. Sebastian's going to say this to the audience because he's confused still. Okay?
What relish is in this? How runs the stream? Or am I mad? Or else this is a dream? Let fancies fill my sense, and least speak. If it be thus to dream, still let me sleep.
Nay, come, I prithee. Would thou Be you ruled by me?
Mad at my will.
Oh, say so, and so be.
Oh boy, there's suddenly a great reconciliation here, isn't there? Wow. And she's kind of fallen in love, of course, with Cesario, who's Viola, and this twin. Now she's going to make him follow her, to be ruled by her. Also, you might say that Shakespeare was one of the first fellows to encourage women's liberation, because his women are often very strong, all right, women, like Maria here also, and Viola, of course. Okay, so here we have Maria and Vesti. Maria, how about you want to do this, Greta? Greta, Maria.
Nay, I pray thee, put on his gown and his beard. Make him believe thou art Sir Topas the curate. Do it quickly. I'll call Sir Toby the whilst.
Okay, the generally that's pronounced prithee. That means I pray thee. I pray you do this. And Topas is generally thought to be the local curate, kind of the pastor of the local church, because it seems Malvolio knows him and is not surprised that he's speaking to him, I guess. Well, I'll put it on and I'll dissemble myself in it, and I would I were the first that ever dissembled in such a gown. So he's making fun of the priests' pastorates here. I'm not tall enough to become the functionates well, nor lean enough to be thought a good student, but to be said, an honest man and a good housekeeper goes as fairly as to say a careful man and a great scholar. The competitors enter. Okay, Will here, you beat Toby.
Jove bless thee, Master Parson.
Okay, who's Jove? The king of the Roman gods. He's the top god. He's the top guy in the Roman gods. He's like Jehovah. And sometimes Jove and Jehovah are mixed in Elizabethan language. Okay. Oh, buenos dias. Buenos dias, perhaps. it's a bad mix of Latin. Sir Toby, for as the old hermit of Prague that never saw pen or ink very wittily said to a niece of King Gorboduc, that is. So I, being Master Parson, am Master Parson, for what is that but that, and is but is. This sounds like something that a former president, his name was Clinton, I believe, when he was being interrogated by a court, said, it depends on what your definition of is. I think he took his cue from this particular speech of.
To him, Sir Topas.
What's ho, I say, peace in this prison.
The knave counterfeits well, a good knave.
Okay, you might as well do Zachary. You might as well continue to do Malvolio, okay? Because then I can hear you. You gonna speak up? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Who calls there?
Sir Topus the curate, who comes to visit Malvolio the lunatic. Out, hyperbolical fiend! How vexest thou this man? Talkest thou nothing but of ladies?
Sir Topaz, never was a man thus wronged. Good Sir Topaz, do not think I am mad. They have laid me here in hideous darkness.
Fie, thou dishonest Satan! I call thee by the most modest terms, for I'm one of these gentle ones that will use the devil himself with courtesy. Say'st thou, the house is dark?
As hell, Sir Topaz.
Ah, well, it hath bay windows transparent as barricadoes, and the clear stories toward the south-north are as lustrous as ebony. And yet complainest thou of obstruction?
I am not mad, Sir Topaz. I say to you, this house is dark.
Madman thou errest. I say there is no darkness but ignorance, in which thou art more puzzled than the Egyptians in their fog.
I say this house is as dark as ignorance, though ignorance were as dark as hell, and I say there was never man thus abused. I am no more mad than you are. Make the trial of it in any constant question.
What is the opinion of Pythagoras concerning wild fowl?
That the soul of our grandam might happily inhabit a bird.
What thinkest thou of his opinion?
I think nobly of the soul, and no way approve his opinion.
Fare thee well. Remain thou still in darkness. Thou shalt hold the opinion of Pythagoras ere I will allow of thy wits, and fear to kill a woodcock, lest thou dispossess the soul of thy grandam. Fare thee well.
Sir Topaz.
My most exquisite Sir Topaz.
Nay, I am for all waters.
Thou mightst have done this without laying it down. He sees thee not.
To him in thine own voice, and bring me word, how thou findest him. I would we were all well rid of this knavery. If he may be conveniently delivered, I would he were, for I am now so far in offence with my niece that I cannot pursue with any safety the sport of the upshot. Come by and by to my chamber.
Now here you get the idea of the transmigration of souls. Supposedly in teaching of Pythagoras, who was actually a mathematician. That is that a soul can inhabit some, usually it's often a fowl, Fowl, a bird of some kind. I don't know why. And here he says he's not going to kill a bird because he's afraid he could kill his grandmother because their souls may be migrated there, is what all that's about. But see, now they've left, and it's going to be an entirely separate scene between, which could be marked scene 4, between Malvolio and the fool. Okay, so, hey Robin, tell me how the lady does. Fool. There you go. Malvolio on page.
Oh,
That's right. My lady's unkind, Petty.
fool.
And why is she so?
Fool, I say.
She loves another. Who calls, huh?
Good fool, as ever thou wilt deserve well at my hand, help me to a candle and pen, ink, and paper. As I am a gentleman, I will live to be thankful to thee for it.
Master Malvolio?
Aye, good fool.
Alas, sir, how fell you besides your 5 wits?
Fool, there was never man so notoriously abused. I am as well in my wits, fool, as thou art.
But as well, then you are mad indeed if you be no better in your wits than a fool.
They have here perpetuated me. Keep me in darkness, send ministers to me, asses, and do all they can to face me out of my wits.
Advise you what you say. The minister is here. Malvolio, thy wits the heavens restore. Endeavor thyself to sleep, and leave thy vain bibble blabble. Maintain no words with him, good fellow. Who, I, sir? Not I, sir. Uh, God buy me you good, Sir Tobus. Mary, amen. I will, sir, I will.
Fool, I say.
Alas, sir, be patient. What say you, sir? I'm shent for speaking to you.
Good fool, help me to some light and some paper. I tell thee, I am as well in my wits as any man in Ilaria.
Well a day that you were, sir.
By this hand I am. Good fool, some ink, paper, and light, and convey what I will set down to my lady, that shall advantage thee more than ever the bearing of letter did.
I'll help you to it. But tell me true, are you not mad indeed, or do you but counterfeit?
Believe me, I am not. I tell thee true.
Nay, I'll ne'er believe a madman till I see his brains. I'll fetch your light and paper and ink.
Fool, I'll requite it in the highest degree. I pray thee be gone.
That's a prithee. Yeah, like prithee be gone. Yeah. Okay, so he sings this little song, and what it is, it ties him to the comic character of earlier drama that was biblical drama where people go around in carts to different villages and act out scenes from the Bible, basically. And here, a dagger lath was used by one of the comic characters in those sorts of drama. So Shakespeare is referring to an earlier form of drama that he probably saw as a boy, as these carts would come around to the local villages, and Stratford was a rural village. It's a little rural village. That's why the aristocracy believed that Shakespeare could not be the author of these wonderful plays because anybody who came from the country was too damn dumb to write them. I mean, it's sort of the same attitude that the certain elite in America today have for the regular everyday people. That was even more powerful then because of the structure of British society, from the aristocracy down to the servant class. Okay, so here comes Sebastian. Anybody know about Saint Sebastian? What happened to him? He was filled with a lot of arrows, sort of like a pincushion. Then he was hung, drawn, and quartered. Did anybody know what when you're hung, drawn, and quartered, do you know what they do in Britain? They would let you hang till you're just about dead, because maybe sometimes it'd break your neck, but you'd still be alive. And then they'd flop you down on a table and open you up and pull out your guts. That's being drawn, and often throw it in boiling water or a fire while you're still partly alive. And then they'd quarter you. They start taking your body apart. In some instances, while your guts were hanging out, they tie legs and arms to 4 separate horses, and then they hit the horses, and that'd be quartered. So the very supposed sophisticated country of England was one of the cruelest. Drawn and quartered, terrible. And right, so here's Sebastian anyway. He's been shot through with many arrows, let's assume.
So if you were hung until you broke your neck, right?
Right?
Like, so when you break your neck, you'd be paralyzed, so wouldn't you really not feel? And,
That not necessarily. Also, they would just, the hanging, unless you drop, I think it's 6 to 8 feet, it doesn't break your neck. So they would just usually put a rope around them and pull them up till they're, right. So they couldn't breathe, basically. And were probably hacking and gagging and everything. And then and maybe pass out and then let them down and do the drawing and quartering. That's why there's always a drop stage in a real execution by hanging. 6 to 8 feet, I forget what it is. You got to fall to break your neck. And then the feet are always tied together, so you're just a single solid piece falling. Nasty stuff. Go ahead.
this is the air, this is the glorious sun. This pearl she gave me, I don't feel it and see it. And though it is wonder that enwraps me thus, yet 'tis not madness. Where's Antonio? Then
Okay, notice that he's talking about madness too. All right? And not only is there wisdom and foolishness in this play, there's madness. What madness is this? So here's another kind of madness. That'd be a good theme to write on. What is madness? And isn't the switching of roles of people, women acting like men and so forth, the Festi acting as Sir Topus, taking on all these roles? Isn't it a kind of madness? It'd be a good theme to follow through when you want to write on this. Remember, for the next essay, however, due on Monday, choose a poem or series of poems by Robert Frost or one of the stories that you liked from the anthology, which can go all the way back to the early Sherman Alexie if you want, all the way up to the present, except for Tolstoy. So Shakespeare or Tolstoy, or maybe you can combine them, I don't know, are going to be the basis of your final essay. We are going to do that. The third, as the syllabus says, was to show the development of Frost as a poet. Well, you can do that if you want. But since so many wrote on Frost for the second essay, I'm leaving it open for whatever you want to do for this coming essay. Good. Gee, how nice of you. Oh, that's okay. You're welcome. Thank you. Now let's move on from there. Okay, Sebastian.
I could not find him at the elephant, yet there he was, and there I found his credit, that he did range the town to seek me out. His counsel now might do me golden service, for though my soul disputes well with my sense, that this may be some error, but no madness, yet doth this accident and flood of fortune so far exceeds all instances, for instance, all discourse, that I am ready to distrust my eyes, and wrangle with my reason that despair persuades me. To any other trust be that I am mad, or else the lady's mad. Yet if 'twere so, she could not sway her house, command her followers, take and give back affairs and their dispatch, with such a smooth, discreet, and civil bearing as I perceive she does. There's something in it that is deceivable, but here the lady comes.
Yeah, so remember she's said how much she loves him and it's taken him by surprise, but now he's thinking, well, wow, she seems kind of sane. She can run her household well. So maybe something's going on here. Go ahead, Olivia. And a priest. Does it be Sir Topaz? No, I don't think so. I think it's the regular priest there in Shottery. Go ahead.
Blame not this house of mine. If you mean well, now go with me and with this holy man into the chantry ride. There, before him and underneath that consecrated roof, put me the fullest assurance of your faith, that my most jealous and too doubtful soul may live at peace. He shall conceal it, while you are willing it shall come to know. What time we will our celebration keep, according to my birth? What do you say?
I'll follow this good man and go with you, and having sworn truth will ever will be true.
Then lead the way, good Father, and heaven so shine, that they may fairly note this act of mine.
Yeah, so we know there's going to be actually there's two rhyme couplets, both from Sebastian and from Olivia, to doubly indicate the end of that scene. And this, of course, is the shortest act, briefest act in the play. As you notice, we're done very early, and I talked about the three unities and all that other stuff on top of it. Yeah, still we are done now. So I wish this were Friday when I could let you out early. And on Wednesday I can't, but you can. Okay. Is this madness? No, it's not. Go ahead. You may leave.